welcome everybody. I want to say thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. This is our celebratory 2,000 episode where we took your questions about me, Polly, the cats, whatever it was that you guys had some curiosity about. And at this point, we are up over 3,000 subscribers. So things are moving very, very quickly.
Yeah, Ivy, we have one from Sherelle.
Okay.
She asks, how did you know mediumship was right for you? I know everyone can do it, but what was the final push?
Ooh, the final push. Well, I had a medium from, there was a spiritualist town, community where they do like mediumship and psychic readings that I lived right outside of, called Lilydale, New York, and I had a medium from there find me in a grocery store when I was 15, and she had been sort of following me around throughout the store. I had noticed her a few times, and when I got to the checkout aisle, she said, are you aware that you have the gift? Are you aware everybody calls it a gift? And I said, no, I'm really not. And she said, well, I've been following you. And I said, yeah, I noticed that. And she said, well, I noticed that every time I passed by you, my ears were ringing like crazy. And she said, I want you to know that you have it and that you should use it. Do you want to train? And at that point, I had nothing to lose. I was living out on my own. I had my first apartment. I said, okay, well, this is the thing. I said, I don't have what you guys have. I can't sit down and do what you do. And I tried to tell her, I said, it just sort of comes and goes. I really don't know when it's going to happen. I don't really know what it means, what I'm supposed to do with it, even though I realize I'm accurate. I am not like you guys. And she was like, oh, yeah, you are. And so she had me take someone I didn't know and sit him in a chair in front of me. And she said, just open your mouth. So this guy came over one day looking for my roommate, Berto. And Berto wasn't there. He was at work. And so I didn't know this guy. So I said, come on in. And I sat him in a chair in front of me in the dining room. And I opened my mouth. And for about 45 minutes, I knew about his past. I knew about his dreams. I was channeling his loved ones. I knew that he had a truck packed and was ready to move to Arizona, but that his brother had left and he was now stuck taking care of his elderly grandfather. Like crazy things. I did not know that I knew those things when I was near people. But when I opened my mouth, it was all there. He was bawling. I was shocked. Berto came home. We wrapped it up. We acted like nothing ever happened. And I sort of buried that until I was about 30 and I started reading for the public.
We have one from Jackie.
Okay.
She says, Ivy, can you tell by talking to or seeing someone whether they have intuitive, empathic, or spiritual tools within them?
Yeah, definitely. So I can tell if I get someone's name or if they're crossing my path on like social media, if I have them in front of me, and I can actually see them, it gets like more and more and more in depth and detail based on my proximity to them or how much time I focus in on their energy. So yes, I can feel what abilities they have going on and to what degrees. If I take the time to really reflect on it, I can tell them what is within their life contract, meaning what they signed on to before they came to Earth. So yes, they have these abilities, but the question really right now needs to always be for people, what am I supposed to do with it? And so if I look at that life contract, I can tell you what abilities you have, what's going to get stronger, and how to use it. And I think that's really helpful.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have one from Valerie.
Okay.
It says, how old were you when you started to help others? Or, I should say, mentally realized that you were capable of being able to help people?
Well, I knew when I was about 4 or 5 years old that I was different because I was being sent to doctors and they really couldn't find what was going on with me, what was wrong with me. And I was having some very interesting experiences. My grandmother was in an infirmary. She was stuck in a hospital bed for over 25 years. My grandmother had a series of strokes, and so she couldn't communicate. She communicated non-verbally, right, through telepathy, and I was picking up on telepathy. And while I was in the infirmary, because we visited her a lot, I was doing the same thing accidentally with other people in the infirmary, and then it started happening at school and things like that. And one of the things that I noticed when I was about 4 or 5 was that these people who desperately needed healing were like coming after me with the wheelchairs and things like this. So it was actually horrifying. Don't laugh. It was, it was horrible.
I'm laughing.
I had a terrible.
Terrifying.
It was terrifying. I mean, I now have phobias and issues. And so, but the way they were coming at me was so needy, so aggressively needy, and they would actually call my name, and I would get in trouble. So my mother would yell at me and say, I told you not to talk to them. I told you not to go out in the hall and talk to them. I said, I wouldn't. I would go out in the hall from my grandmother's room to sit in a window. They had like these almost like bay windows, to look out at the field. I was just trying to get away from the heaviness of the room, and it got worse in the hallway. So I would say around 4 or 5 years old, that was really increasing, and I started to notice patterns in who would approach me. Desperate people, needy people. Then I was going to school, and like those kinds of people would want to sit next to me on the bus. I was always put in situations where someone was getting bullied or something was wrong. And then when they started sending me off to the doctors from school, I started to kind of piece things together that I had some different stuff going on. And I know that my family knew it too, but we didn't have a category for that. So I was never diagnosed with mediumship,
Right. This one is from Risque Rose.
Okay.
Says, I've always been curious. Do you ever feel as if you can almost read things from people through their comments?
I can. So I think we all can. I mean, but why would we want to, right? So like, most people, they have a lot of sort of toxic cesspool energy. No offense to most people, but it's very rare to come across people that are mindful and owning their energy and are really highly elevated and are deliberate, in the way that they handle their lives, and they want to give something positive out to the world around them. Those are the rare people, especially these days. It's getting worse, and we're getting fewer and fewer. And so I tend to not want to look at any of that. So it would be the same thing like when I started working psychic fairs. I did a lot of them. I would do like 4-day stretches in the malls a couple times a month. And so people would be passing by in the mall, and then there we would be, doing a psychic fair, and people would always walk by and be like, what do you get from me? What are you getting off of me? And I would be like, nothing, because you didn't pay me, and you're not sitting here, and I'm not being deliberate right now, and I really don't care, And so it's the same thing when I'm on social media and things like that, or I'm, in the house with my family, or I'm out shopping, whatever. It's all the same. And it's an ability that you have to really train yourself in to tune it out and sort of turn it off. But it's always sort of there pressing like a weight on a wall, and when you relax, that wall kind of comes down, and it's like a flood of information. And that's why this work is exhausting.
All right, I have a cool one here from Candace. It says, Hey guys, what is the Arawak?
Arawak. So Arawak is my native tribe. My family's from Puerto Rico, and they were Taino Arawaks. So I say Arawak because through colonization and genocide, we have been pretty much wiped out. So Arawak was the language that the Taino natives spoke, and it is connected to a lot of the other Caribbean natives associated with, not only our tribe and the way that we spoke, but also our belief systems and the spirituality that I believe I tap into, and that's where a lot of my abilities come from. But what I find is that there are many people within the Hispanic community and the Black community who really are very unaware that they are Taino, they are Arawak, that they have these native roots. And so I think it's really important, given the work that I do, that I'm giving credit back to my ancestors and my tribal lines, so the rest of us can sort of find our way,
Yeah, it's a very diverse group.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and there's so much ability with the psychic and mediumistic and empathic awareness within these groups of people, and I just feel that it's just been really lost.
Ooh, this one's fun.
Okay.
This is from Lauren. What kind of psychic experiences have you had with your cats?
Oh my god, every day with the cats. First of all, the cats know when the shows are about to go on air and start going bonkers. I mean, just running all over the house, up and down the stairs, knocking things over, bringing in animals that are half alive or half dead, however you want to look at it. Is it not nuts in here every day?
Bananas, yeah.
So every day they reach these peak points where they know that either like Paul's about to be giving readings or healings, or I'm about to read, or we have a show coming on, class coming on.
And there was one time when he was sick, and we asked Esmeralda, the other cat, who doesn't seem to do it as often.
No, she doesn't care about anybody.
But we're like, Ezzy, why don't you help out Jesus? And she was over, sitting with him for as long as she could.
Yeah, it was 2 days. Yeah, she sat with him. We thought we were going to lose him. We then found out cats could catch COVID, that the felines were the first ones to pick up on it. So that was before we really knew that animals were affected by COVID. And I will say, too, he used to come. So Jesus, a.k.a. Jesus, was our shop cat at the Ivy League Psychic Academy when we were on Main Street. And when we would do public shows, he would know who was going to receive a message from Spirit next. And if it was going to be overwhelming for them in any way, or they were going to be crying, he would go sit on their lap until it was done. And when they stopped crying, he would leave and go to the next person.
She says, I have kind of a silly question. Did you name your cats, or did they tell you the name they wanted? Most of the time, my animals let me know by their actions.
So, yes, with my children, with my cats, like, everyone told me ahead of time. So they would come to me in spirit, and they would show me when they were going to show up, how I was supposed to bring them into my house, whatever the situation was, and then they would tell me at that time what their name was supposed to be. And so I told, in the case with Jesus, I told the guy who had the litter of kittens, that guy had reached out to me and said, could you please take one of these? And so I had said, yes, I will take one. And I said, but I want the male, who's the biggest, who follows you and stays outside the bathroom door. And you're supposed to name him Jesus. And there, sure enough, was a big fat male who followed him and stayed outside the bathroom door. And so he named him Jesus, and he took to it immediately. Very cute.
This one's from Alyssa.
All right.
Did Ivy see you, Paul, coming before you guys met?
She asking you?
Yeah, but I think you should answer.
Okay. Did I see Paul coming before we met? I actually manifested Paul, and I created a class based on that process. It was the second time I had ever done it, and it worked both times. So the class Reaching the One is based on how I manifested Paul. So I've been stalking him energetically for longer than he realizes or wants to probably admit, but basically what I did was I took a list of like 15 things that I wanted in a partner, and I thought on those things in detail, and I got real specific about even like I wanted an accent, I wanted Irish, I wanted light eyes, darker hair, you name it. I picked literally everything. I wanted him to be good with the public. I wanted him to be a natural healer and an intuitive, but kind of not know that he was. And to be able to help me build this movement. But I wanted us to also have sort of like a young connection, a playfulness, an ability to just kind of, I don't know, not care and get along. And he's a Gemini. He's got the blue eyes. He's got the eyebrows I wanted, the accent from Boston, Irish, you name it. I mean, it was like absolutely perfect. And so the way that we had met, he was crossing through town. And we had both put up Tinder within like 24 hours of each other. And he, on Tinder, you have to come within like a 10-mile radius. And he must have been passing through. And so we clicked and we met the next day. And that was pretty much it. He moved here a couple months later.
Each other.
How long have we known each other? So, yeah, it'll be 2 years.
2 years in
2
March?
years in March 22nd.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years, March 22nd. So don't tell me anything personal. Because I knew I was going to be giving him his first reading, and so I didn't want to influence. So we just kept it light chatter for about 8 hours. That kind of blew my mind. But when we got together, I did notice, like, right after I gave him his reading, and we were able to kind of be more real with each other, I remember saying to him, remember when we were talking about such and such a thing, like, a few months ago? And he said, that wasn't a few months ago. That was, like, yesterday, or that was the day before.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and so straight away we started to notice these weird time warps where we would think that we had done something, like, years ago, or there was this familiarity that went really, really deep, and we literally still today sometimes cannot wrap our heads around that it's only been that much time. It does not fit energetically.
What was Paul's reaction to your abilities?
What was your reaction to my
I'll
abilities?
take this one. We'd matched on Tinder, and I saw that she was a psychic and had the academy. I was like, all right, let me look into this. Because I was like a wicked skeptic. I didn't believe in anything. And it's like, whatever. And so I watched her horoscope. And it was really, really, really good. And it was like direct and wasn't airy-fairy, as you would like to say. It was honest and just... I thought it was really cool the way that she could have this mass reading feel like it was talking to just me. So I was very impressed by that. And that's how, that's what I messaged her. Something along those lines. So the night we met and she was giving me a reading, it was my first reading, and so I didn't know what to expect. And so I politely was like, all right, let's do this. This will be fun. I was very interested. I kind of always wanted to get one, but like I didn't believe in it, so I was never going to go do it.
You're not going to go pay money
I'm not going to go do
that
that.
or like go.
So I was like, this is pretty cool. Let's see what happens. I have no idea what to expect. And like was bringing in, my stepmom Marie and like my grandparents, and like everybody was exactly like who they are. And I remember expressly what you said about Marie. I was talking about when we dumped her ashes, and she said it was like her birthday, and I was like, well, we did it on her birthday, and so I was like that. I was like, I can't close that door. This is it. This is a life-changing thing.
It's like, woo! You can narrate a video like no one's business.
Yeah, and then it took, I don't know, I think I did let on that day that I watched like 8 of your other videos too.
Thanks so much again, guys, for all of your love and support. We really, really appreciate you, and we had a great time with this, and we will see you for another one of these celebratory shows at 5,000.